Robert De Niro has done many good and great roles over the years, like the bus driver in The Bronx Tale, the mafiaboss in Goodfellas, the stalker in Cape Fear, or even now last year as William Hale in the Oscar-nominated Killers of the Flower Moon. By and large, he is an actor with an impressive CV and probably one of the all-time best. But even with a legendary actor such as himself, there's always roles that goes a bit under the radar. And one of those is the movie I will be talking about today called Man of Honor, where the story is all about the first black U.S. Navy diver, Carl Brazier, played by Cuba Gooding Jr., but probably Cuba Gooding Jr. does the role of his life here. It cannot compare to Robert De Niro, who plays the role of this rather racist diving teacher in the Navy that wanted to be a master diver, but was forced to quit because of a quite serious incident that you see at the beginning of this movie. Because in this role, Robert De Niro is almost just as wild as he was in the movie Cape Fear. Of course that role is even better, but this one is not very far behind either, because the way he manages to act as this rather racist diving teacher is really one of a kind. How he disciplines the others and tries to make them quit, and how he calls Cuba Gooding Jr. by the name Cookie, you really feel De Niro is this person from the South that is the most racist possible he could be. But yet, in the end, gives the character Carl Brazier a chance to become a diver, suggesting he actually has a heart beneath all the prejudice behavior. Just like he had a southern accent in Cape Fear and managed to work that in a believable way. Here in this movie 9 years later, he makes it look and feel believable in the same way he did back then. Robert De Niro manages to be hard, he manages to be cold, he manages to be arrogant. There's so many layers to this character. We feel he goes 100% wholehearted into the role. One thing you also gotta remember is that De Niro often plays these mafia-style or criminal characters as he did in Goodfellas, Casino, or The Untouchables. But in this movie, he puts on a show with a completely different character he does not usually play. Sure, he may act in some of the same way, but at the same time, he puts in the effort to appear different and be a different man than he usually is. Because here, he is this guy that at the same time is racist, brutal, and arrogant, but also deep inside realizes that he wants to create havoc and screw the system. Just like he does at the tail end of this movie when he decides that he is willing to train Brazier and helping him becoming the first amputee. That is also a deep-sea diver. Of course, you have seen this type of military characters in other movies that wanted to be something bigger than where they ended up, or are dead angry that they couldn't stay where they were. As you see many times during this movie, De Niro, as the chief Billy Sunday, faces serious degradation because of his ill-fated behavior and bad relationship with alcohol, and that is another layer of the character that De Niro brings forward when he manages to act believable in the way we all believe he is drunk in the real, or when he walks into the bar, angered that Brazier, as we talked about in the story earlier, seemingly stole his girlfriend. The way he acts in those scenes is simply a clear, fiery reason as to why this actually may be his most underrated movie role. Because really, for me, it is the best acting I've seen where an actor is set to portray a character that wants to be so much higher in the ranks and feels he deserves it, but then basically ends up lower on the ladder and takes that aggression out towards the other guys he is about to train. More than most, despite the brutal, racist portrayal, which of course could have been even more brutal, but that may be a story for another time. This movie is about honor despite that, which you see fittingly displayed in the title. In some of the scenes towards the end, when De Niro decides to really test the character played by Cuba Gooding Jr., how far and how much he is willing to sacrifice in order to become a master diver by letting him work 9 hours at the bottom of the sea, before finally deciding to hose him up, disobeying his superior boss. Those scenes really touch you because it shows despite the hardships once and for all in the other direction. Because when one fall in that direction, the others comply as well. And that is the direction of honor and respect, as De Niro shows when he finally lets him up after trying to force him to quit by saying it ain't worth dying for. The other divers of the school actually comes to the rescue, and it's a powerful moment in a brutal movie, once again showing why this role from De Niro is highly underrated. Sometimes Robert De Niro can be a touch too much, too arrogant, or too little serious, as you see in some of his new movies these days. After his venture into comedy, and I do also like his acting in some of those movies, but I can't understand it is not on the same complexity level as it is in this movie, like where he really has to go all out of his way to strike the right balance in the character. Because really, when you have seen a character so brutal, with yet so many layers underneath, as this, where the actor also manages to play on the small fiery things that makes the performance look rightfully good on the screen, not too many times. And that's why for me, this is really Robert De Niro's most underrated movie role, and as for the movie itself, it is a strong 7.